Na 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 Dapat Tagum Radyo Eskwela na 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 Dapat Tagum Radyo Eskwela na.
Hello, our dear viewers! Welcome to another episode of Teleradyo Eskwela, Tara na, in General Mathematics. First and foremost, we would like to thank Hope Radio 107.1 DXHS, where we show and air our radio lessons for senior high school students. Also, we are glad to be with you, students, in this new normal journey of schooling to radio broadcast. I am your radio host, Florian Vincent M. Binasa from Tagum City National High School. How are you feeling now, dear students? I hope you are well, whenever you may be. At this time, I must ask you to stay in a comfortable, well-ventilated, and well-lit area where you can intently listen and take notes. Are you ready for a new lesson? Great! Today, you will be learning about simple interest. This topic will be brought to us today by our radio teacher, Jansen Jiv Cosa from Tagum City National High School.
Hello viewers and listeners. I am glad that you are here for another opportunity to become methodical in dealing with your daily experiences through mathematics. In today's episode, you will: Number 1. Define simple interest. Number 2. Compute simple interest, future value and present value. And number 3. Solve problems involving simple interest. Interest is the fee paid to use someone else's money. For example, if you borrow 100 pesos from someone, they often want their money back with interest. So, the interest is the fee paid to use their money. The person who owes or borrows the money is the borrower or debtor, while the lender or creditor is the one who lends the money. We usually calculate interest on loans of a year or less as simple interest, paid only on the amount borrowed or invested and not on past interest. In the next episode, we will talk about compound interest. That's where interest is paid on top of other interests. In this episode, we will talk about simple interest alone. The amount borrowed is called the principal P. The rate R of interest is given as a percent per year, expressed as a decimal. For example, 6% would be 0.06. The time T during which the money is accruing interest is in years. Take note that the interest increases in years. We formally define the formula of simple interest as the simple interest I on P pesos at a rate of interest R per year for T years is I is equal to P times R times T. For example, find the interest if you borrow 1,000 pesos at 4% for a year. Remember our formula, I is equal to P times R times T. What we're looking for is the I, the interest. Now, the principal is 1,000 pesos, the rate is 0.04, and the time is just 1 year. If you multiply this out, what you get is 40. The answer is 40 pesos, and it is the interest if we borrow 1,000 pesos at 4% for a year. There are also other situations where the term or years is not a full year. Let's look at this situation. To purchase a new phone, Dominic borrowed 5,000 pesos from her sister at 7.2% interest for 10 months. How much interest will he pay? Remember the formula I is equal to P times R times T. What we're looking for is the interest. The principal is 5,000 pesos. The interest rate is 0.072 and the time is 10 over 12 or 5/6 since there are 12 months in a year. The interest will be 300. Therefore, Dominic will pay 300 pesos as interest for borrowing his sister's money on top of the money he borrowed. On our previous example, we know that the interest when Dominic borrowed 5,000 pesos at 7.2% interest for 10 months is 300 pesos. On maturity date, the date on which the principal amount becomes due and payable, Dominic must pay his sister the principal amount 5,000 pesos and the interest 300 pesos. So, in 10 months, Dominic must pay his sister 5,300 pesos. This amount is called the future value or the maturity value. We formally define future value as this. If you deposit P pesos at simple interest R for T years, then the future value or maturity value FV of this investment is the sum of the principal P and the interest I it has earned. FV is equal to principal plus interest. FV is equal to P plus I. Since I is equal to P times R times T, FV is equal to P plus P RT. Factor out P, FV is equal to P times 1 plus RT. Let's do this example. Find the future value and the amount of interest paid. Rainier borrows 40,000 pesos from his parents at 5.25% to purchase an Axi. He plans to repay the loan in 14 months. First, let us look for the interest. Remember, I is equal to P times R times T. P is 40,000 pesos. R is 0.0525 and T is 14 over 12 or 7 over 6. Thus, the interest is 2,450 pesos. Now, we look for the maturity value. The maturity value FV is equal to the principal plus the interest. The principal is 40,000 pesos and the interest is 2,450 pesos. If we add these two, we get 42,450 pesos. That is the future value or maturity value. In 14 months, Rainier will pay his parents 42,450 pesos. To calculate the present value, recall that the future value formula is FV is equal to P times 1 plus RT. If we divide both sides of this formula by 1 plus RT, the left-hand side becomes FV over 1 plus RT is equal to P. This is the present value formula. To formally define the present value for simple interest, the present value P of a future amount of FV pesos at a simple interest rate R for T years is P is equal to FV over 1 plus RT. Note that the interest problems, P always represents the amount at the beginning and FV always represents the amount at the end. Let's do this example here. Find the present value of 32,000 pesos in 4 months at 9% interest. The present value formula is P is equal to FV over 1 plus RT. The question is, what is the present value of the future amount 32,000 pesos? Aside from the future value, we have R is equal to 0.09 and 4 over 12 or 1/4 as T. P is equal to 32,000 over 1 plus 0.09 times 1/4. P is approximately equal to 31,067.96 pesos. Thus, 31,067.96 pesos right now is equivalent in some sense to 32,000 pesos in 4 months. Did you get it? I am proud of you. Would you like to practice what you have recently learned? Okay, you have 30 seconds to answer each problem. Let's begin. First problem. Neil wanted to raise 12,000 pesos to pay for the catering service on his mother's 50th birthday in 7 months. How much money should he lend someone today at 6.3% interest? How much interest will he receive? "30 seconds is up. Let's check your answer to the problem. Recall that the present value formula is P is equal to FV over 1 plus RT. P is equal to 12,000 over 1 plus 0.063 times 7 over 12. P is approximately equal to 11,754.63 pesos. Thus, Neil must look for someone who wants to borrow at least 11,754.63 at present to raise at 12,000 pesos in 7 months. There's another method in calculating the interest. Recall that the future value formula is given as FV is equal to P plus I. By adding negative P on both sides of the equation, we have I is equal to FV minus P. Based on our problem, we have 12,000 as our FV and P is estimated to be equal to 11,754.63 pesos. I is equal to 12,000 minus 11,754.63. I is equal to 245.37. Thus, Neil earned 245.37 pesos for lending his money. Second problem. How much money should Sophia pay after borrowing 45,000 pesos at 3.5% interest? Her loan will mature in 400 days. Time is up. Let's check your answer to the second problem. Since we want to know the amount Sophia must pay on the maturity date, we will use the future value formula for simple interest. Recall that the formula given is FV is equal to P plus PRT. We will use this formula to identify the interest while calculating the future value quickly. We have P is equal to 45,000, R is 0.035, and T is equal to 400 over 365, since there are 365 days in a year, or T is equal to 80 over 73. We put this on our formula. We have FV is equal to 45,000 plus 45,000 times 0.035 times 80 over 73. FV is equal to 45,000 plus 1,726.02739,726. Based on this equation, the interest to be paid is around 1,726.03 pesos. Let's continue our calculation by adding the principal and interest. FV is approximately equal to 46,726.03. Thus, Sophia must pay 46,726.03 pesos upon maturity of her loan, which includes 1,726.03 pesos as the interest. We have accomplished our learning objectives from this episode. We defined simple interest, compute simple interest, future value, and present value, and solve problems involving simple interest. I hope that you learned a lesson from our discussion today. See you in another episode of Teleradyo Eskwela, Tara na! In General Mathematics.
Thank you, Teacher Jansen. That ends our lesson for today. To understand our topic further, you may do the exercises found in your modules. I encourage you to study your next lesson in advance based on your modules. Please make sure to be with us in our next session. This has been Florian Vincent Ambinasa, your radio host. Keep safe, everyone.
Na 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 na, dapat Tagum Radyo Eskwela na. Na 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 na, dapat Tagum Radyo Eskwela na.